We had nothing, like we had no money to do this. We were skint, like a couple of toe rags really. Literally walked backwards out the shop. Like, I hope nobody notices. It was like, you had Mr. Bongo's there, you had Black Market there, you had Uptown Records here, you know, it was Wild Pitch just around there.
We got Task Force, and then on the other side, MSI and Asylum.
Chester P walks in, right, and I'm like, thank you. I don't even believe in God, I'm like, you're up there. He walked in with Big L. We were like, whoa, that's a nice touch.
Did that affect the shop or you in any way?
If somebody hadn't opened that door, 5 minutes later, maybe we could have lost a lot.
So what was it like on street sounds?
It was brilliant.
So why did you leave?
Lots of people think that the next deal reel was me, was involved. It was nothing to do with me. The name was stolen.
We often celebrate the artists and creatives at the forefront of music, but we tend to overlook the unsung heroes working behind the scenes. The vital players in the ecosystem that help shape hip-hop and its culture. Take record stores, for instance. How crucial were they to the movement? That's just one of the many things we'll uncover with our guest today. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comments below. Now, let's explore the story of one of London's key suppliers of hip-hop records, a person who not only provided an important space for artists to showcase their talents and their skills, but also created connections that propelled many into thriving careers. Our guest today is Mr. Derailed himself, Pete Bond, aka Pete Rail. What's going on, bro?
How you doing, Blake?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Thank you very much. Good, good.
So, first of all, how was your journey?
Windy. Windy and a bit rainy, but it was all right, man.
Okay.
It took a bit longer than usual, over the bridge and all that, you know.
We constantly hear from people saying about what you did as part of the scene.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people that work in the background, like yourself, you don't always get acknowledged by the masses, only by the people that saw you at the time.
Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like it's important to kind of let people understand that there are other people involved in the ecosystem, like I said, that did things. And without them, for example, distributors.
Well, I was going to say, this, even behind us,
Yeah.
people you never saw.
Yeah.
And they really important.
But your journey didn't begin with the record stores.
No.
So where did your journey begin?
Right, so it sort of started for me, it's always been about music. And my musical journey really started in the late 70s when I had this neighbour move in who became a good friend of mine, Paul. And he was a few years old and he had a great, great record collection. And he used to lend me anything I wanted. He started to take me to gigs. So he took me to see Marvin Gaye, George Benson, Donald Byrd, all these great artists. This was sort of getting into the early 80s. And so my musical taste, I would just consider myself very, very lucky because not many kids in my high school were listening to what I was listening to. And then, so my musical ears were kind of growing. And then early 80s, and then we had the hip hop thing starting. So, and electro was obviously massive for me because I was a funk fan. Electro just boom. I'm loving electro. The Message, tunes like that, New Rap Language. I started to hear these tunes. Didn't go hip hop for all of us sort of teenagers at that age. We all tried it. We all tried to break dance. I freaking twisted my neck and broke my ankle, and that was it. No, doing that again. I couldn't. I'm not artistic, but the music just kept me going. I had friends who were poppers and all that, but I didn't get involved in the hip hop thing like some kids, you know, dressed like it and all that. Started DJing in the 80s. Got to give my mate Willard a big shout out because he was, again, another friend that was a few years older. He used to have these house parties in Pitsea, and he put me on the deck. He would allow me to go on the decks. I was 14, 15, 16, 17, I suppose, more that. And he would always let me go on the decks and play, and I had a kind of took to it, you know. I loved it, and then sort of like soul music and jazz and all that fell off for me in the 80s. It wasn't things. So hip hop was the kind of music that took over for me. Getting on to like mid to late 80s, then it was, you know, all the great stuff, the Eric B. and Rakims, the Public Enemies, the Jungle Brothers. That really was when I really started to get into hip hop big time. So I went and lived in New York in 87, which is kind of pertinent to the story. Came back in 88 and was digging music, like one album after the other that was being released then. Did a few different jobs. Around about 90, 91, I thought, let me do something in music. And I got a job at Tower Records in Whiteley's in Queensway, Bayswater. Great to work for them because they gave you carte blanche. They give you a section and say you can order pretty much what you want, vinyl-wise. We were ordering Main Source albums, and we had... So a lot of people... I met quite a few people that still, you know, or got to know very well later on, like Fresh. My first memory of Fresh, we all know a legend that is Fresh. If you're record shops in the 90s, you know Fresh is. He got hold of a copy of Ultramagnetic's MC's album for me. £8. You know what I mean? Came back a few days later with it. There you go, Pete. Anyway, so I got used to buying records and all that. And I met a guy working there called Rob Corrigan. And Rob was talking about opening a record shop. It had never occurred to me before. I was like, because I was thinking try and get into a record label or get into music somehow. And I said, you know what, I'd like a piece of that. Da, da, da. Anyway, we got talking, eventually decided, let's do it. Scrambled some money together, not much, don't know, a couple of grand, maybe a bit more. Flew to New York, and because I lived there, I had friends out there, so we had 3 places to stay. Went out for about 10 days and just trawled the streets, found record shops, records, people selling stuff on the street. I mean, you say this is about 1991, 92. Went to see Tom Silverman at Tommy Boy, you know, just phone record label. We were over from London, and you go and see them. We just didn't really think what we were doing. We just did it. Got loads of promos, got loads of records. We bought back a whole ton of stuff. A lot of hip hop, but a lot of soul, funk and jazz and all that, because we both really like the funk and jazz. And when we got back, we started selling on Camden Market. Probably did that for a few weeks. And then we got inside, there was a place called the Company Store, which was Camden Higher Street, or that bit down the road, maybe.
Just directly opposite the station.
Opposite, but slightly down the road a bit.
It's kind of like a little in-market space.
That's it, yeah.
I remember Isn't that where Jazzy B had Soul to Soul?
Soul to Soul were down there originally. They weren't there when we were there. That was before. And so we got a little unit in there. And what happened was the hip-hop started selling. And we're sitting there watching all the hip-hop go, but the soul and the jazz not so much. So we're like, okay, well, next time we go to New York, and let's start concentrating on hip-hop.
Did you make your money back, though?
Yeah, plus some. So, I mean, we bought like... I think we bought things like Master Race. I always remember buying wadges of them for about $3. The Gotcha album, what's it called? Take a Look Around.
Yeah, Take a Look Around.
And paying like $3.
Wow.
You know, buying 10, 20 copies. You know, you can't. And we were coming back. We were selling them too cheap. We were selling them for like £8 or £9 then. But this is 91, 92. So.
Yeah, but you had to cover your flights.
But we had to sell them, and we didn't know. And I remember we bought a load of Main Source albums in Tower Records, and they were on sale. And we bought them back, and I think we started selling them for £8, and they were going. So I said to Rob, "Let's get £12 for them now." You know, they're going too fast. Those sort of things you learn, but. So we became known. We were already starting to get known then as hip hop specialists, if you like. Then I met a great guy, and he's really somebody I'm working with now. It's a guy called Anthony Cooper, who had a clothes shop on Inverness Street in Camden. And he came and said to us, "Do you want to rent out half the basement, put your record shop?" Because he saw that as a good opportunity for him, like have a record shop.
Did you have a name for the record shop at that time?
We were calling ourselves Downstroke Records. So Downstroke was... up for the Downstroke, it's a P-Funk Parliament record, right? But we didn't really, I don't know if we even advertised or anything, or whether many people knew that we were called that.
So even when you were at the marketplace,
I think
it was Downstroke?
I think we called ourselves Downstroke then, yeah.
Okay. So you always had a name, basically?
Kind of, yeah. Probably not when we were on the market, I don't know. I couldn't remember when the name thing came into effect.
It's almost like everything that you're doing is a process, a learning process leading up to the point you got to. So it was trial.
It was very much trial. It was trial on the hoof. It was skin of the teeth stuff. There was no planning. We didn't plan it. We were, you know, which now, if I did it all again, I'd do a business plan, and I'd really kind of...
Yeah, but if you didn't do those early things, you wouldn't know that now.
No, we didn't, so we learned on the hoof. But I met people along the way, and so Anthony, we rented this space in the basement of his shop, and I think Mongo said that's where he first remembers me from. So I'm guessing like Skinny, and they were all Camden, Itchy Town. So starting to get to know, and more and more hip hop, we sort of there was also swing beat and R&B, in which I liked and I was selling and you sell whatever. But definitely we was more and more hip hop related and getting more and more hip hop stuff.
Do you know what? Do you know what I find funny?
Go on.
Is everyone kept saying hip hop wasn't going to last.
Yeah,
and everything else was supposed to last. Nothing else did, and
but
hip-hop
then,
did.
because we're talking early night, like 92, some of those records that were coming out, man. To me, as a music fan, like, I tell you, I remember a record, and I remember playing it when it first, the day it came into the shop, and we were playing it, and we played it about 3 times. And I went, this is an incredible record. It took me about 3 listens, was Beatnuts' Intoxicated Demons EP. And that jazz production and that, oh man, and that, I always remember that hitting me like, this is incredible, you know. And we used to get like, that was general, like every week there'd be incredible records. You know, as the 90s went on, it got harder and harder. But I mean, some of that stuff, you don't realise when you're in the middle of it how incredible it really is.
And you were at the forefront. You were watching all of these things happening.
And,
so you knew what was happening before the public got to really know.
Kind of music, yeah, with records and stuff. We would get to hear them first. And, you know, I didn't really get into the whole promo thing much. I did get a few bits when I went to the States, but some people really started getting into that whole getting promos and all this sort of thing. But
so you, from the get-go, you already knew that something that you were going to do in the future was going to involve you as a DJ.
Yeah, because I was already DJ'd, and I was already, I mean, I would DJ, I'd get asked to DJ and stuff at parties and things like that. My thing was, I never really had the confidence, I think it was, to go, oh, I could become a DJ. You know, like all these people that I got like later on with Sarah Love and people like that who came in young, 18, and were like, I could be a DJ. That didn't occur to me when I was 18. I would DJ whenever I got the chance. I loved it. But it didn't occur to me that I could be a DJ and get paid and it be an ongoing thing. Although I DJ'd right through the 80s. I DJ'd at, you know, like places like the Windmill in Essex and different bars and things like that. But now I'm more doing it, you know, I do it more regularly now, but with radio. But yeah, so we were in Inverness Street, and then Anthony moved to bought a shop in Notting Hill, and asked me
still as Downstroke.
So no, when we moved, me and Rob split up then, and Rob went his way, I went my way, and I went with Anthony to the basement there, and that's when Anthony came up with his shop was called Have a Nice Day, so HAND. So he said, let's come up with a name and incorporate hand. So it's Have a Nice Day. So it's Handspun. That's how the Handspun thing came out.
And that logo was
and
brilliant.
I used
with
to
the
stand.
record.
Well, I used to stand in the shop with a sealed copy, and I used to be able to spin a record like this,
like basketballers.
Yeah, it was just something I used to do. When you're bored in the shop, you'd do this with a record, and I got quite good at it. And so we incorporated that whole thing with that logo. Great logo.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's a lovely logo. Everybody loves that logo. I mean, that's Anthony's input, really.
You had bags made as well, didn't you?
Bags,
because I remember,
I
bought stuff from there, and I remember taking bags home.
We'll talk about it a bit later, but I'm kind of relaunching all that with Anthony now.
Right.
Well, Anthony is, and he's brought me in on it, so it's wonderful.
Perfect.
But so then it was Notting Hill, and that was a new phase for me. That was like the next phase, the Notting Hill thing, and that's when I met people like DJ Cuckoo. I met Scam, the writer Scam, a wonderful bloke, and also he...
Well, from Ladbroke?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was kind of there, the whole Lalo, which is my second home, really. I had a flat round there and stuff. I loved it round there when it was affordable. Forget that now. And so Scam was the one that came up with the real name and the logo and stuff. Yeah, Scam.
He came up with the name?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was Scam's name. Yeah. Scam came up with that name. A few years after, this is later on when we were opening the shop. And also, very importantly, MK. MK walked in there one day, as a young kid.
What year are we talking?
93, I think.
Okay.
And MK, I think he said to me, because I contacted him the other day just to say, let me get the year straight, because he's got a memory, like a photographic memory. And he goes, yeah, I came in to buy Tribe Called Quest Award Tour. So he remembers the record that he's buying. And he said, 93, da-da-da-da-da. And so we got chatting, and he was one of those first people, I don't know if anybody else was doing it at the time, he was importing mixtapes from, all the mixtapes from New York.
It was physical tapes. It wasn't, yeah.
And he was doing all that. So he had this little business. He's a smart cookie. Again, he's another one like yourself that's incorporated the business with his passion and done it well. Because that's not me. I'm pretty terrible at that. And so MK, the opportunity for both of us was that he could come and work with me. He could set up in my shop. wouldn't have to pay anything, but he could also work there and I wouldn't have to pay him. So it was kind of a, so he could help out with, I could have
both
days off.
benefit.
Both benefit. Yeah, it was one of those. And that went on for some years and it was great, and we had some good times with MK. So that was Handspun, yeah. And Handspun felt like more of for me, because we had the logo and we had merchandise. And it was just, and again, it was all rolling, it was all building, and I was meeting more and more people on the scene, and and then eventually Anthony's business grew so much. He was a t-shirt business. T-shirt, he had Have a Nice Day, and he had all these logos. Eventually, he couldn't spare the space in the shop anymore. He said, Pete, I need space back, And I moved into a clothes shop on Oxford Street. Hated that little period. It was only about 6 months, I think. I was in the little upstairs. I can't remember the name of the shop. Don't really want to remember it particularly. But I met there, little memories of that place was I met Toos, Sound of Money, and he bought, and he came in one day with Black Twang and Roots Maneuver, and he had the Queen's Head single, and I remember that, meeting them, and This Is It. Oh, this is
What
nice.
was that, 94?
Probably 94, 95. No, it must have been. Actually,
maybe even later, 96.
Might have been 95, 96, because I had done, while I was at Notting Hill, I had DJed on Carnival on one of the sound systems.
Okay.
Did that 2 years running.
Okay.
That was amazing. That was the best DJ experience, I think, in my life. Absolutely frightening. There is a story about us we need to tell.
Okay.
From the basement of...
Is it embarrassing?
No. When you came, we got talking. You came in when I was in the basement of Have a Nice Day. In Pembridge Road it was, in Notting Hill Great. And I'm like, why aren't the shops selling Lion Goes from Strength to Strength? And you said to me, well, they're charging too much. I want you selling it yourself. And I said, well, how much can I have? How much do you want me to sell it for? And let me sell it. And you gave me some copies to sell, which I think I was probably one of the few.
Yeah, because...
That was the only time I did business.
Because what it was is I supplied a couple of shops, and I was giving it to them for like £7 so they could keep the cost down to £10, £12. And when I was going back, they're selling them for £19.99.
Yeah, I remember you saying...
£17.99. And I'm like, what? You're making more than I am,
Yeah.
And you've already covered the rent for your shop and everything. You don't need to be ripping people off. So I stopped supplying them when they asked for more, and I just kept selling them myself, and it done amazing.
Yeah.
So,
but I remember you saying to me, I said to you, how much do you want me to sell it for? And I think you said 12 quid or something. And I went, okay, I'll do that. And you were like, you seemed quite surprised, like you will. And I'm like, because excuse me, it was more important for me to have a great album and make a couple of, whatever it was, I'd be making 4 or 5 quid. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know.
And believe it or not, you were still making more than I was.
Yeah, so, I'm sure I was.
But I didn't mind
but
that.
But we agreed the price.
The important thing for me at the time was that the customers don't get ripped off.
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
But
I was kind of the same, although, I was supposed to be making as much money as I could. I never really looked at it like that, make as much money as I can. It was more about it being a great shop, it being a great, having that album was important to me because it was a great album. And, it was
and thanks for doing that.
No, I mean, that's not, it's one of those things. But so,
but
yeah.
Like just on the subject of that, at least it goes to show the ethics we had and we still have.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I think I hope, and I think that's one of the things that maybe shines through, that I hope I did sort of have the ethics, especially later on with Deal Real and, allowing people to do stuff. But we'll get there. But yeah, so jumping on to like that little place. But what that did when I went to Oxford Street, it got me into the West End, and then it was a kind of different, Then I went to the basement of Dark and Cold, the clothes shop, Dark and Cold. They had a little basement spot, and I can't even remember how that happened, or maybe somebody told me that they had this basement, or maybe they came and saw me and said, I can't remember. Anyway, moved into there. So this would be 90. When did I said I'm still in 97, so this would be 96 probably down there for about a year. And that it was, I was in the Soho thing, this 90s Soho record shop thing, which was phenomenal, really. It was, people talk about it now, it's like great days. It was great days because you had Mr. Bongo's there, you had Black Market there, you had Uptown Records here, it was Wild Pitch just around there.
So this was still Handspun?
So this was Handspun, yeah. So I was still Handspun. Didn't become Deal Real till the last place, but so I was still Handspun. And yeah, being in Soho was definitely like part of the Soho thing, and the Soho thing was brilliant. It was brilliant.
The first thing that comes to mind when you say Soho is the number of record shops that were there, because they were, I mean, for us as consumers, it was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, because we went everywhere. Unity, Red,
Yeah, Unity, Red.
Passion, MASH.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
exactly. And we were all surviving. And
everything.
all
Wild
thriving.
Pitch,
Yeah.
Reckless.
Yeah.
There's a long, and obviously Bongo and Groove.
Yeah.
And then you were there amongst that. What was the competition like for you?
I didn't really take any notice of the competition, to be honest. Not in an arrogant or horror. I was just heads down doing my thing. As long as I was surviving and paying the rent, which sometimes was a struggle.
But I also felt like people wanted the records bad enough to go to every shop to find it. So if you missed it at, say, Groove, you'd go somewhere else and pick it up. That's what we used to do.
Well, also, I've got to give a shout out to a guy called Niraj, who was been a customer of mine since... Shah, yeah.
Niraj Shah, yeah.
Yeah,
guy,
of course, everybody knows.
Yeah, of course.
But he said to me, and he's repeated this a few times, so it wasn't a one-off drunken statement. Sorry, Niraj. But he said, when I came to the West End, say on a Saturday or whatever it was, he always came to me first because he liked me. He wanted to give me the money, so go first and give me first. Like, if you got this, this, and this, and if I had them, he'd buy them off me because he liked me. And I kind of worked on that premise as well.
Yeah, he's a very loyal guy.
Yeah, very loyal, and I hoped a lot of other people would be, and I hoped because I had a thing about record shops. They were there was a lot of moody record shop, moody places that were hard if you weren't very confident to go in and.
But they had targets to meet.
Yeah.
You were running your own business. You didn't have that.
No.
And like
but
you said,
can be nice with it. You know what I mean? And sometimes there was a sort of snobbery and whatever. No, when you get to know them, they're always genuine.
Right. So this is a good place to ask you what your ethos was.
Well,
for
that
your
was it. I wanted it always to be welcoming. I wanted it to be a place where you wouldn't. I know it probably was, with loads of hip hop blokes standing around on a Saturday. Sometimes it probably was intimidating, but I didn't want it to be intimidating. I made an effort in there to kind of chat to young kids and young people, or if I see people that were kind of quiet on the end waiting, I'd always make sure when I get over there and chat to them. Another thing I always like to do was have women. Didn't do it up until Deal Real.
Just so you know, we all like to have women.
Exactly. Not all. Some people don't. But when I Deal Real, I really wanted to have, because it was bigger, there was more people, we could get more people working there. I wanted to have women in there. I just thought it was nice.
You finished the sentence now. It makes sense.
Yeah, sorry.
I just thought randomly stopped. I just wanted to have women.
Yeah, we're still there. That's it. Interview done. But that was later at Deal Real. But anyway, so we're down in the basement of Dark and Cold. It's still Handspun Records. But again, being in the West End, we had people. Nas came in, Sadat X. Fusion used to work at. Maybe he was working at Touch magazine then, and he was with Nas and just turned up one day.
Oh wow!
So we were starting to get people like that, which wouldn't happen outside of Soho, because.
I mean, I've got a long list here of all the people that came.
Yeah. So about a year I was in the basement, and I think they wanted the basement back. They might have got fed up with all the writers tagging on the stairs and all that sort of thing. There was a lot of that sort of thing. But Tony Vegas. Big respect to Tony Vegas.
Always.
Had less...
Big up, Tony.
Big up, Tony. He had left Bongos. He was working at Mr. Bongos. And I said to him, do you want to do something? Do you want to start a record shop? I think it took a little while to convince him. He was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I wish he would say yes, because this could be incredible. Because I was going to have to find another space and move on. And eventually he said, yeah, let's do it. And we had nothing. Like, we had no money to do this. We were skint, like a couple of toe rags, really. Drinking way too much, which I'll mention, because I had developed a passion for booze as much as I was passionate for music.
Let's save that for a different segment.
So that is, but that was happening already. It wasn't. But Tony was, we were a bit the same, really. And we did lots of meetings in the pub. But we got it together. We found the space for Deal Real, which was in Knoll Street, 6A Knoll Street. Great memories, that. And got in touch with the landlord. It was so weird because when I think back, it was an empty shop, and above it was 3 or 4 floors of just derelict could be office space or flats, millions of pounds worth, all just sort of derelicts right in the middle of Soho. So this is still, you had that option, you had opportunity then. You could never open a shop in Soho now, not without financial backers and big company things. A couple of toe rags, me and Tony got it together, convinced the, and yeah, so we opened up, and let's just say, I wanted to say Madder, DJ Madder, put the lighting up,
Yeah, because he's an electrician.
He's an electrician, and he, so hip hop built Deal Real in a way.
Big up Madder as well.
Big up Madder.
He done some electric work for me back in the days as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, wicked nice, really lovely guy. And K1 from Paris. He's a brilliant writer in Paris. He did graphics for the shop and did some stuff. As I say, Scam named it Deal Real, came up with the name Deal Real.
Why did you choose Tony Vegas to do this with, instead of, say, somebody like Ben or Dom at Groove?
Because Tony was, I think just because Tony had just left his job at Bongos, and I was getting to know him. I didn't know Tony that well before, but he was, at a loss of what to do next. It just seemed like an opportunity. Not as I said before, everything was sort of done on the hoof. So I see Tony chatting and something, hey, what about us opening a shop? And Tony was getting quite well known for his DJing by then.
Yeah, he was amazing.
I've got to tell you something.
He's got, for me,
phenomenal.
top 5 in the world, period. I don't know that many that can touch him.
No, and I've seen him up close, and it is unbelievable.
Yeah, you used to watch him in the shop all the time doing it.
Yeah, I used to.
Because when there was no customers, he was just on the decks practicing all day.
I'd be leaning on the counter like that, watching his hands this far away, and it was phenomenal,
Can I just rephrase that, what you just said?
Yeah.
You'd be leaning on the counter like that, watching him, and there's alcohol at the back. So you weren't really watching him, you were watching the alcohol at the back.
Well, I'm reaching for the vodka. But so Tony, and I want to really give a big rest in peace to his wonderful father, because his dad built we had this big counter that was always loved. Yeah. His dad came in and did all this work, and his mum used to come down with sandwiches for us and all that. I mean, really supportive, So lovely people. So I want to give a big shout out to them, because they built, they were part of it. There's blood, sweat and tears.
So it was really a big community spirit.
It was
even from the get-go.
Yeah.
So there was no
and
surprise.
MK, of course, was still, MK was helped out with all that. So so we got Deal Real open, and then that was the big step. It was the final step sort of thing for me. But it was brilliant. I mean, it was a brilliant space for us. And so, going back to that ethos, there I was, so one of the first females I employed was Estelle. She was like 17. We became good friends, me and Estelle, and I went with her. I was thinking about this in the car, driving down here. I was thinking, God, that time I went with Estelle, she was about 17, I think, really nervous. At the Jazz Cafe, they had a talent night thing, and it was, I think, like a Tuesday night, and it was half, or probably more than half empty. And she was really nervous, and I remember her going, "Oh, thanks for coming down and supporting me. Oh, it was all good." But so when Deal Real opened, everybody just would come through. Everybody was around. I remember like Black Chwang and Roots Maneuver and all the faces, Rodney P, and all of the all the faces that were big at the time. Skits and everybody would be in and out the whole time. So people were networking. So Estelle met Black Twang, and I think that's where she started. Guested on those, people were networking there. And that was great for me. I really felt sort of proud that it was a place that people could network. And then got to know Roots Maneuver and became Roots Maneuver's DJ through the shop, and they went off to the pub and, sorted that out. And and then, of course, the Mud Family and all that would come through, and it would be freestyles and mics and, and DJs. Harry Love. I think I first met Harry Love at Handspun, maybe in the basement. He never officially worked there, never got paid his pay. He was just there. We opened our arms to him, and I was like, this kid's incredible. He was incredible on the decks, and a producer and all that later.
Because he used to do some productions downstairs, right, in the shop.
He made some beats. Yeah, because Ferb T said he'd made a beat.
Yeah.
Well, I think it might have been a friend of ours, Del, who used to help out in the shop as well. Del Kirsten, big shout out, big respect, lots of love. I think it was his sampler had a sampler in the basement. See, again, I think I mentioned to you in our previous conversations about me not being a very good businessman, and I should have done it with you. Because had I been better and more equipped and less boozy, I would have had a studio. You know, when you think hindsight and the opportunities I missed, I would have put a little studio downstairs. We had this basement that was, you know, we had stock down there, but we could have had a little vocal booth and we could have been putting things together.
You wouldn't have liked me as a business partner because the first thing I would have told you is don't drink on the job.
Yeah.
And you would have hated me for that.
Yeah.
You know, the same as when.
So we might not have lasted very long.
Yeah, it would be constant arguments.
Yeah. Well, me and
what
Tony,
the fuck have I told you?
Me and Tony would be nose, you know, we'd be nose to nose arguing. But I like that. I mean, if I'm going to do work with somebody, it's not all going to be it's all roses and cozy.
You know what I always find, if it is, then you're destined for failure anyway.
Yeah,
you've got to have some disagreements to make shit work.
Yeah, and that's the passion in it, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
of course.
It's like, you know, because the booze thing kind of worked for me as well, because it got towards the end, it was not good and it was not funny and it was, you know, but at that, you know, it was kind of worked in the social side of things, and the shop was kind of social.
But you mentioned Estelle. Who else was in the shop?
Yeah, Estelle, I think, because MK left within the first year, and I'm trying to think when Estelle, whether there was a crossover with Estelle. Maybe Estelle came after MK. And then Shorty Blitz, Big Ted worked there for a little while. Shorty, Destiny, at some point worked there.
Sarah Love,
yeah. I'm going to get to Sarah, because Sarah Love was one of the last ones to work there. She came there in the last year. One of my Cammer as well, B-Boy Cammer from Foundation's crew. He didn't actually work there, but again, he was always, if you look at pictures, he's always behind the counter helping. You know, it's just people would just be there. But Sarah Love, yeah, she walked in one Saturday, walked through the crowd.
What about DJ Cuckoo?
Oh, DJ Cuckoo, yeah, he was there from my days. So again, sometimes I'd say be like, and it wasn't like regular. Nobody. I mean, it was like I'd call him up and say, "Oh, could you come in tomorrow and help us out or whatever?" And so there was like that sort of thing. Or if he came in, he'd end up behind the desk because he wanted to meddle around and things and end up serving people. You know? So it was kind of free for all, really. It was like, you know, work there and get a couple of records or whatever, help out, and it was a kind of almost like a community spirit, really. And then. One day, a young guy called DJ Excalibur. I didn't realise until I caught up with him years later that he was only 17. I mean, it's amazing because I was 30 in December of '95, so I was a lot older than a lot of these people. And these were a lot of kids, you know. Like, well, I don't like to call them kids, but they were, you know, they called themselves kids. Lots of 17, 16, 17, 18.
Because by that time, you were what, 30?
I was 30 in December. So, yeah, 30. I was 31 when I opened Deal Real 32 that year.
So you're 30 and you're seeing these youngsters coming in. What are you seeing?
I think for me, it was like, if it was talent and all that, I was really impressed by these how talented these people were, especially when we had sort of open mic things and I saw these guys. Because I've always looked up to musicians and because it's so... You know, I wish I'd been a musician. I wanted to be the greatest bass player in the world or the greatest, you know, or keyboard player, and I've never done it. So DJing was my way of doing it, but I'm certainly not the best at that. But you know, I think seeing all that talent and seeing these young people, I'm like, this is wonderful. This is amazing. Like seeing people do, and then seeing Tony. So when because Tony left because his DJing thing, he had to kind of make a choice. Tony Vegas, like, should we stay with the shop and give up the DJ? We had this conversation one day after a big argument. And he said to me, he came in, he said, "Pete, I'm sorry." He said, the DJing or the shop, I've got to give up one. And I said, "You can't give up DJing, Tony." Because he'd gone out to New York and won the ITF championship thing, you know. He was top of the world. And he had balls of steel, and I loved him for it. You know, he was some people didn't, and it was good luck to him. But he was, and like I say, I'd see him. And they had the Scratch Perverts when the Scratch Perverts were about 6 or 7 of them, and they would have, like, I know at one point they had all these decks set up all the way around the counter, and there's like 7 or 8 decks, and I see all this stuff really close up. It was amazing. So somebody who's, you know, can't even cut 2 copies of a record. I'm still.
And all of these guys at this point are younger than you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right,
Tony
so-
was kind of my age, I think.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit younger.
So the reason why I'm asking that is just basically because when we were coming into hip hop, like the elders didn't get us, even if they were 5 years older than us, they didn't get us.
yeah.
And it was a lot worse when it was 10 years older or 15 years older. So now you're about 15 years older than all these guys.
See, I wasn't never like that, though.
Right, so
'Cause
that's
I
what
think
I'm
that's-
saying.
Yeah.
Then it led on to what Excalibur was doing, where you had the freestyles and everything. But we'll talk about that.
But I saw some of that attitude from elders, and some of them it took a while to warm to it. Like, who's this guy? We don't really know this guy. And I'm like, cool. If you were, take your time. If you like me, if you don't, whatever. I'm not really out to impress anybody. I'm just trying to do my little thing. But I saw some of that. I know what you're talking about when you say about that.
What was different about you that you saw something in them and gave them that opportunity?
No, that's just my nature. I was in awe of people's, when I saw Maestro rhyming, and I'm like, this guy's incredible. And it wasn't like there was incredible MCs. Some of them I didn't get as much as others, but say someone like Maestro, and I put his first single out, on a Deal Real label. We put one of. I was like, this is what I want. This just works for me because he's funny, he's clear, there's lots of things. See, I listen to music not just like, oh, that's wicked because his rhymes are wicked. Yeah, but kind of what he's saying and the bass line, I can't hear it. I want it to be I want it to be. And
They had a B-side as well on that, right? That featured Jargon and
yeah, so
Skinny Man.
we decided to put a record out, and Derek Kirsting helped me out with this. We thought, well, let's start a label for Deal Real. Only ever put one record out. Again, my failure. And Maestro was an easy choice because Maestro had had been freestyling in the shop. I just thought, this guy's wicked, Maestro's Maestro, man. And he kind of stood out for me. And he was working a lot with Jargon. They had a Natural Born Spitters, I think.
Yeah, Natural Born Spitters.
So he put Kiss That Ass Goodnight was the A side, and then they put a track on the B side called The Words Out. And I can't remember whose choice it was to get Skinny on it as well, whether I said, oh, let's get Skinny, I want to work, because Skinny as well.
Yeah, come on.
I don't know what to say,
Yeah, come on.
That whole Mud Family thing was incredible. And Skinny was always in the shop, so it was just a love thing, he turned up really late in the studio. And I've got to give, and I must give, because, again, we did it at Daz IQ, and Daz IQ is a legend, more in the broken beat thing, Bugs in the Attic, but it was his studio over Acton Way, I think it was. Gave us a really good deal late one night, just worked through the night, mixed it all, recorded it all there, mixed it all. Sounded great. To be honest, the Word Out, the B-side, I heard that, I think it probably got played more because it had Skinny on it. Skinny was bigger then, But I heard that I heard them perform it somewhere, and a couple of years later, and I was at this club with this girl that I was seeing at the time, and they performed it, and I went, fuck. Everybody knew the words. As you've seen this millions of times, you're used to it, but for me, I'm like a little bit of, that is me, do you know what I mean? I didn't write it, but standing in a club watching everybody know all the words to a track that I put out, I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That's great. I'm just happy to leave a little sprinkling of things, And so getting back to Excalibur with the nights, Life from the Legend, he called it, didn't he? I think
Originally, wasn't it called Tales from the Legend or something like that?
No, his radio show, I think, was called Tales from the Legend. He had a radio show, 17 years old, and I was in awe of these kids as well. I used to think, this I didn't really realise quite how young people were because they appeared older to me. He came to me and said to me one day, can I do this thing called, can I do an open mic night in the shop? Need to stay open till, I said, well, what does that involve? He said, well, just open until we get some DJs in. We'll open until about 11 o'clock. Again, we could just open up, do what we liked. No noise problems or anything like that. And so we did that. And again, we had it, shop was rammed. Lots of names. Who did we have? He named them all, didn't he? Skinny, and he reckons that Mr. See, I don't remember, again, my memory was shot really, but he reckons Mr. Thing and Harry Love and him DJ'd on the first ones, but maybe others as well. And Skinny Mark.
It was Poisonous Poets. So you had Doc Brown.
Doc Brown.
I think Styler might have been there.
I don't remember from the time. I saw him on TV some years later, and I went, I know that guy. And I'm like, oh, he's probably just an actor. And then it turns out he used to come to Deal Real. I'm like, yeah, I must have seen and must have been in that room. But yeah.
I mean, see, I was never there because I was busy doing what I was doing, and I wasn't always around. And in particular, I think the event only happened about 4 or 5 times.
I think it was 4 or 5 times according to him.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
he did it every couple of months, so probably in the space of about a year.
If the dates don't correlate, then you just don't turn up, you know.
Yeah. I think
but we were hearing things,
and they, you know, that helps with the notoriety of the shop. But we had other times. Always had a mic under the counter. And so there was lots of times where, Dark and Cold, so I'm still in touch with those guys, and they put out a couple of freestyle videos, and they asked me to, like, could they use the shop at night? And we did Skinny Man, I'm on the decks, and Skinny Man's rhyming, and then there's the Chester P one, they're on YouTube. So we would do stuff like that after hours, but we also had a mic under the counter, and I'll tell you a really funny story, which involves Chester P. Another one.
I know this one, I've heard
so funny. But this guy came in. They was quite busy in the shop one day, and this guy came in with his mate, and he's gone, I'm his manager. I hear you have freestyles. My man will battle anyone, and da 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 da. So I said, cool, you know. I said, let's hear you. And I got the mic out, and this guy started rhyming, and it was average to middling. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, well, I wouldn't be bragging too much about this. And then, it was like a Monty Python film where the clouds open up and the God comes through. And Chester P walks in, right? And I'm like, thank you. I don't even believe in God. I'm like, you're up there today. I said, Chess, the guys, you know, but what's the kind of battle? Could you drop some rhymes? Big mistake. And Chester, I've never seen anything like this as well. He started rhyming. Not only did he do that, I used to have a rack of magazines, and he pulled out a magazine, and he started without, you know, he never drops a beat. Was turning the page and rhyming from the page. Fast, super fast, super fast, super fast. And these two people, I never saw them again. They were kind of literally walked backwards out the shop. Like, I hope nobody notices. It was like, they just to pieces, you know. And I was like, thank you, Chess. Let me buy you a beer. So funny. And talking of buying somebody a beer, do you remember El Fudge? He was an American rapper who was on Raucous, I think. He had a single out. He came in one day. Really nice guy. Got chatting and blah, blah, blah. And he said, he'd heard about these English beers, you know, these strong ones. And we went, yeah. No, American beer's really shit, isn't it? So I said to someone, go and get him. And it was Tennent's, a couple of Tennent's
Super, yeah. And
honestly, about an hour later, we watched him walk out the shop, like hitting the door frame, hit the door frame. I was like, really, we should really see the guy home. But he was the one, he was going, no, let me try this strong beer. I think we got quite drunk with the beat nuts. And the woman from the record, we ended up in the basement after the shop had closed with the beat nuts, and they were playing that night. And the record company lady turned up, and she's like having to drag them away. You're not smoking weed now. You're not smoking weed. You've got a gig to do tonight.
So
we had some funny times.
I have to ask this. So how much work did you guys actually do? Because it sounds like you were just there having fun.
Well, it was, well, kind of having the fun was part of the work. It was creating an atmosphere. I mean, you know, I opened up the shop at 10 o'clock every morning, and
okay.
You know,
and you were drunk by 10:15.
Sometimes I was still drunk from the night before, which was like Saturday morning. Was Keller and his 360 Physicals guys,
yeah.
And it used to be quite funny because they were all really young, and I should probably apologise because I probably wasn't the best of moods, but they would be all super hyper, you know, really, really keen to get in, and they'd be in their beatboxing. Just love a coffee. Let me get sorted. Because they're normally at 10 o'clock in Soho, it was empty, you know, I'd usually have an hour or two to kind of get myself together. But I mean, I'm making light. It was funny, but it was also kind of a problem in the end, but whatever. I mean, people that came in, Big L, well, that was an OC sign. That day was incredible. We had OC doing an in-store signing for the album Jewels. And he walked in with Big L. We were like, whoa, that's a nice touch. And then, well, they're behind the counter, Company Flow walked in, you know, LP and Mr.
On the same day?
On the same day. And they're like OC, because they didn't know they were
didn't
there,
know, yeah.
and we were all like, so it was just one of those. Everybody just hung out, got to spend, got to chat with Big L outside for half an hour.
So you had Big L, OC, Company Flow, Qbert, Mad Skills, Dizza, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Beatnuts, DJ Sinister, Rob Swift, Killer Priest, El Fudge, Diamond D,
Yep.
Mixmaster Mike, Shabam Sadiq, and Pete Rock as some of the people that have turned
And Marley
up.
Marl.
Marley Marl.
I forgot to mention Marley Marl. How can you... Yeah, Marley Marl came through one day.
Yeah, and these are obviously the guys from America, right? So obviously there's going to be tons of them from the UK.
Yeah,
But my question is, you had all these people coming in.
I know that.
Why did you not do some kind of business with them?
Because that's
That collaboration.
That was the mistakes I made. Yeah, that was it.
Because that was the obvious thing. Like,
I know.
You know, you had Tony Vegas, who could have been on the turntables. You had Mr. Fing.
I had the opportunity to work with almost anyone I wanted to at the time. I could have asked anyone anything. They could have just said no. But you work on averages. Half of them are probably going to go.
But see, this is what baffles me. You got all these names, including all the UK names. And then you got Deal Real Records, and you've put one record out, but you had it all at your fingertips, where you could have made collaborations and you could have run it as a proper label and done something for the UK scene that hadn't been done prior to that for so long. I mean,
I know it all sounds like it was all fun and games, but it was a lot of pressure to pay the rent. And
but this could have paid your rent.
I know. But I think I was kind of mentally kind of wearing myself out at that point as well. Those last 3 years, mentally challenging for me, so as much as it was fun and it was great, it was also, and I wasn't the best businessman. I think in the conversation we had, like you said, I needed somebody like yourself. Really, me and Tony, all that was great, and I mean, Tony left, as I say, after about a year, so I was on my own. But had I had someone come to me and say, we could do some more here, like, let's do this, I would have been up for it, I think. I would have done it,
What gets me is that you worked in Tower Records, and then you saw an opportunity where you're like, we can do this. And then you put out Maestro's first record. I'm amazed that you didn't say, right, we can do this.
So am I.
That's what baffles me.
Yeah, no, so am I.
Like, you missed a trick.
Yeah, I missed a trick. Yeah, I missed more than a trick. I missed lots of tricks.
When me and you were speaking on the phone, obviously, I was hearing a lot of missed opportunities.
There's missed opportunities, massive. Yeah, there's missed opportunities. And I think I was pretty immature for a 30-year-old too, probably because of the boozing and that, and not really, that probably had a lot to do with it, the boozing really. I mean, I just wasn't functioning. And, it is what it is. I kind of have to say it is what it is. Because, what I try to do now is, if anything, I'll concentrate on the legacy that the people that, like Excalibur, when we discussed what he'd done, as I contacted him a while ago to get the details, he said to me that the fact, when I said yes to him doing that was a really big thing for him as a 17-year-old. And it had a big, he said to me, and these are his words, so I'm not, but he said, that had a lot to do with him being where he is now. And I was like, wow. So I'm proud of that side of, the legacy of people. When I saw Maestro not that long ago, a year or so ago at Sarah's, and he was introducing me to his wife, and he said, "Oh, Pete put out my first record," and I'm like, that to me, okay, fucks up lots of other stuff, but when people say stuff like that, I'm like, that's okay, that's to me, that's maybe not worth more than money, whatever, I don't know, but it is. That's really nice. I was going to say, with Sarah convinced me that to start the Deal Real nights, because after Deal Real closed, for years I disappeared off.
We can come to that.
Yeah, she said that lots of people still talked about Deal Real, and I said, I can't believe they do. So it did mean a lot to a lot of people.
I hear it quite often.
Yeah.
Even when I done the interview with Verb T and he was talking about it, there's other people that have said it on the phone.
Mentioned it, yeah. It means, when I hear that, I don't want to big up myself or whatever, but the fact that...
You have to remember, some people got their start there.
Well, yeah, and they would have started. I mean, like Harry Love always credits Deal Real as having a massive... Because he was 13, 14, and he was behind the counter, and he was being given lots of praise, and he was given opportunities. He would have done what he did anyway without Deal Real, but the fact that I'm involved in that is really nice for me, really, really great.
To a lot of people, Deal Real you know, they might have already had the confidence, but their confidence level went up when they did, because now they're there doing these. All right, there wasn't that many nights, but there was enough nights there for something to happen, and they were performing in front of other artists.
Yeah.
So if they can please the other artists, then their confidence goes up. Yo, Skinny Man saw me, Skinny Man rated me, blah blah.
The Skinny Man was very generous,
right.
as I was, I think, and older people, we were generous to them, like wicked, you know, you're wicked, or keep going, you know, keep performing, keep doing, sort of thing. There wasn't much. I don't remember any kind of negative people sneering or laughing or whatever, because there were people that were.
Well, apart from the guy that came in with his manager.
Well, but even that was, you know, he just let himself down, nobody else. But there was never any. There were people on those. I remember people freestyling that were very good, but they were. I always think we've got the balls to go in there in the middle of all those guys and do that. I ain't got the balls.
Yeah, but what they do today and they're not that good at, tomorrow they come back and they're good.
It was a very positive atmosphere, I think. There was never really any people putting anybody down. And as I say, people like Skinny would be there with them younger people, and everybody looked up to Skinny. People like Black Twang as well, really, you know, they would be, there was no, I don't remember any sort of negative vibes from people. It was all kind of friendly. It was a kind of friendly atmosphere. And it was Black Twang, incidentally, that gave me the name Pete Real. On this track, he said the line, I'm underground like Pete Real when he was handspun, because I used to be in the basement. Yeah. So, clever line. And I went, cool, I like that. And I ran with Pete Real. I thought, that's perfect. I've been trying to think of a good name, you know, trying to a bit more of a DJ hip-hop name. So, yeah, Black Twang, thank you, Tony. I like that name. Still run with it sometimes. Going to be using that again this year.
Can I ask you something about Tony Vegas, though?
Yeah, you can ask me.
So, where Tony ended up going, look, I've got to make a decision. I have to either do the DJing or the shop. And you said to him, go with the DJing. You can't not go with the DJing.
I couldn't say no.
When he left, did that affect the shop or you in any way?
Probably affected me in terms of I felt a lot of pressure then, because it's having somebody else alongside you with stuff is always easier, I think. And probably going back again, if I could handle that differently, I might have said to Tony, okay, you don't have to leave. Let's rework it. So that I don't, because the reason was I was getting pissed off because I was opening up every day and he wasn't around. He'd been DJing the night before, so we get into arguments. Like, well, why am I always doing all the work, sort of thing? Which is a load of bollocks, really, because you know, just handle it differently. We could have said, listen, you know, you're obviously. But I could never let him give up the DJing for the shop. That was nonsense. I was like, you can't even.
Yeah, that's like holding someone's career.
I mean, it's like Jimi Hendrix put the guitar down. You're going to be working in the coffee, doing coffees. You know, like, that's not. It's just not.
It's not happening.
Not even an option, is it?
Yeah, it's not.
But I should have kind of worked around it and said, look.
But I mean, it was big of you to say that, because like some people wouldn't even recognise that. They wouldn't care. They'd just be like, well, you're here. You got to be here. I mean, we started the business together.
It was big of him to give me the option, because he was saying to me.
That's what I'm saying.
He said to me, if you say do the shop, I'll do the shop. He was giving me.
That's mad.
But that was Tony, and that's what I respect about him. Because he knew he'd made a commitment. We both made a commitment when we opened Deal Real. It's like we are going to do this.
To hear that he gave you that option, that he was prepared to stay with the shop and not pursue the deep. That's like. Well, can you imagine what the world was going to miss?
Exactly. It was. I don't know if it was ever going to. I mean, you know, it was never going to happen. He couldn't stop.
For me, I can't even compute.
I mean, I remember. You remember we were saying leaning on the counter, and I was this far away from his hands. This is when I really
and that far away from the beers.
But he had four. He was using 4 fingers. He had 2 up faders, and he was It was
nuts. I've seen him at work. I've seen him at work.
He used to practice like 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Probably, I don't know.
Longer, probably longer.
Yeah, they used to do.
That's what happens when you're young and you have a passion. Some of it used to
absolutely drive me nuts. And I remember saying, we need to sell some records today. You know, and they're all.
That was going to be my next question. Did you actually sell any records?
We did sell records. Yeah. Okay. We sell a lot of records. I mean, one of the great things, one of the biggest selling records, if not the biggest, I don't know if it was. I haven't got figures. Was Skit's Fingerprints of the Gods. And I remember, I remember his name coming down, and I've forgotten it again, who used to run Ronin Records. Anyway, he used to come in with boxes, and he used to say to me, I can't believe how many of these you're selling. Because I remember Shorty used to pump it loud, and then the guy in the cafe used to come in, turn it down. But that record was pumped a lot. We sold a lot. I totally know. See, when I got behind a tune, I love. Oh my god, one of the biggest tunes for me was Cannabis. How We Roll. And distributors used to say to me, you can't take all of them. I need to give it to other shops. I'm like, I need 40, 50, 60, When I was really behind the tune, yeah, and it was a good tune. And if I was behind it, I think it was a good tune because, like Shorty, got taste, didn't you? Yeah, we'd sell hundreds of tunes. So yeah, we did sell. But what happened as well at that time then, so we're talking 97, 98, 99, digital came in, and that's what started to kill off vinyl. It was harder to see. But Sarah Love came in the picture in about 98, 99. She was there for the last thing. Her story is. I'm going to tell you a lovely thing because this really touched me. I'm very, very good, very, very good friends with Sarah. I'm part of the family and her father and everything. And a few years ago, I was round at their house having lunch, and her dad introduced me to somebody, lovely fella who plays piano in the Ritz. This is the kind of people that lovely. I love people like this because they've got mad stories. So the Ritz are one of those cafe places, and she said, "This is Pete." She said, Sarah walked into his shop when she was at 17 or 18, and it changed the course of her life forever. And I was like, whoa, that's a big statement. I never really kind of thought about it like that. And she's changed my life because her friendship and her perseverance and belief in the Deal Real thing, she kept that. So after I closed years later, we started a Deal Real night. That was all down to her pushing me. And
because obviously we had her in here and we were talking about it. And there was a couple of serendipity, whatever the word is, moments. And that was kind of one of them.
And when she walked in, I mean, it was no weirdness. I remember some of my best friends. I can remember, I met thousands of people over the years. And I can't remember who, when, what, why. But certain people I can remember the first time I saw them. Remember it just because something clicks, something in the universe, whatever it was. And I remember her walking through and talking to me, leaning on the counter, talk. Something, she just had some aura or something, just something I really liked. And she said to me, "Have you got a job?" And I said, "I'll find you. I've got a job. Yeah, we'll find you." Yeah. I was like, we need another girl. Because I'd had Estelle, and then I had a girl called Marcia, who was a friend of Estelle's, worked there for a little while. And then I think after that, there hadn't been a sort of girl working there. So I was like, oh, yeah, good, get a girl in. She's got this girl's got, the X Factor. I never really got what it was. But I think some people have it, don't they?
Yeah, of course. You can tell straight away.
Sarah had that. But it is, yes, 20-something years now, of constant friendship, brilliant friendship. So she gave me lots of confidence to get I entered a deep, dark hole, which we'll get to, but after the Deal Real, and she got me out and about again. So big, massive respect to her. But yeah, that's Deal Real.
When people were seeing all these events happening at your place, and they were seeing like all these youngsters that are so passionately into the music and whatever, was that putting off outside potential customers?
I don't think so. I think it probably brought customers because that wasn't happening every day and during the day. And
because there was a time when there was certain outsiders that were afraid of the hip hoppers.
No. I'm sure there were times, maybe later in the day when people gathered and it was getting more and more. And if we did have a mic come out, because it wasn't just on those things that we brought the mics out. It was other times and people started freestyling and all that. It was all in good. But I'd have probably gone, I don't want to walk in there. I mean, Sarah said, she said it was a busy Saturday afternoon. She said the shop was full of blokes. And she had to sort of pluck up the courage to walk through. So, yeah, not everybody can do that. It must have put people off. I think it drew a lot of people too, because we were getting, I mean, there was 1 year, so around 98 or something, The Source magazine did a whole kind of 2-page spread. I wish I still had a copy of this. And they did London. They did the best club, which was the Hop. They voted the Hop, which was MK.
Yeah,
MK's thing. Yeah. So actually, it might be 97, 98. But they voted us the best hip hop shop in, which The Source, was the top hip hop magazine in the world at the time. So we were
mad.
Great reputation. But like, I don't know, I know you've got like a thing as being, you know, like you've been very successful in selling your products and doing all your business, and you know, I know that you see, that was a failure for me, sort of thing.
I wouldn't.
But
Look,
not a failure. I hate the word failure.
Look, how long did you keep your reel going?
But
3 years, right?
3 years was Deal Real. So I mean, I kept myself going all through the 90s by selling records, but I never bought a mansion on a yacht. And then, by the time, 2000, when I got rid of it, I was really ready to go. I was...
Before we go on to that, right, there's another thing, because you was a features editor.
Oh, yes, Big Smoke magazine. That was great. Harry Adams, Dirty Harry, big shout out. I was always amazed at these people, like, you know, the talent and all that. So he came to me and said... I want to do this magazine. Would you like to get involved? And my involvement was because I knew everybody by this time. I knew and it was a British hip hop magazine. Can I?
Yeah.
Because I brought some with me.
Yeah.
Oh, here they are. So basically, these are different issues: Black Twang, Estelle. So grab those.
But
the whole concept.
MSI and Asylum, Brain Tax. That's kind of like not allowed to speak his name anymore.
Oh yeah, Brain Tax is on that one. But
okay, that's the one with Brain Tax. But it's got side A is Black Twang. So let me show the next one.
Pull it out and show they're beautiful.
Task Force. So we got Task Force, and then on the other side, we've got MSI and Asylum. And these were magazines. So the magazine comes out, and you've actually got a magazine. It's not a record, but it was presented, and it's got Farmer on the cover there. Oh, it's even got Mark B and Blade adverts on the back. Oh my God.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I didn't even know about that. There's oh wow.
So your label would have
so
advertised?
I wouldn't have even known about that.
But it was the whole concept that it came out in the record sleeve. Again,
I think
stupidly expensive to produce, so it was...
But you know, this...
I loved all this.
You know what this reminds me of? Right? So when I did my Lion album, I had a booklet that was very similar to that.
Of course.
In the record cover.
Yeah, you see, you did what really appeals to me as an artist. You presented all your work. We did that in a boxing ring down in South London, down in your neck of the woods. I think it would have been. We took the pictures. Pictures of Phil Knott, who did loads of photography, brilliant photography in these magazines.
Just and Lewis Parker on there. You got Estelle on the cover there. Crazy.
And show that one, because that's my man Fallacy on the front there.
Wicked.
Fallacy.
Okay, so we've got Fallacy.
A massive respect for Fallacy.
We've got Fallacy there. And
great magazine, huh?
We've got Shorty Blitz, the man himself, and
Big Ted. Called himself then. I think he keeps changing his name a bit, didn't he? So I was what they call features editor on that for all those issues and more. But I think I was really, honoured to work for them for a bit.
Can I see that Fallacy one again? I didn't look at the cover properly. And it's got Scheme on there as well.
Yeah, Scheme. Fallacy.
There you go, Fallacy.
Because you did Scheme here, didn't you?
Yeah, of course.
I spoke to Fallacy
big up Scheme all day, every day.
Spoke to Fallacy about 6 months ago. I hadn't spoken to him for like 20 odd years. Lovely to catch up with him. He's wicked. I like Fallacy a lot, man. Yeah. But so I was what they call features editor on that for those issues. And then eventually I drifted away because of my personal issues, my demons and my drinking sort of. And they carried on. They actually did a few issues as kind of what I call a normal magazine. But again, I think it was the work versus what the money they could make out of it was nothing. It was a labour of love for them. But Harry and all the guys involved, it was wicked little piece of UK history. Really wicked. Yeah. We did some good interviews and stuff for that.
Are they still going online?
No, don't. Oh, they've got big. Oh, if anybody wants to, they're Big Smoke. There's an Instagram page and stuff, and I think they do little bits of, they like me.
Just like little
promote like what's like. I'm trying to with my Handspun Deal Real Instagram. I've decided to be a bit more active in posting up new stuff. Like I put your single reissue thing, and I put like Farmer's thing up. Just people I know, like we'll just all help out, and just kind of create a little.
You know what? If we don't document our histories ourselves, no one else
I'm
will.
the same. It's documenting, and it's kind of helping wherever you can. And it doesn't take 5 minutes for me to post your thing, and
exactly,
it's all each other, isn't it? I just don't really have any kind of. I'm not in competition with anybody, so I like to help out.
There you go.
So yeah.
Actually,
go on.
Talking about competition with anybody, There's a little thing that happened that I think we need to talk about as well.
Go on.
So Deal Real changed hands at some point.
Yes, yeah. That was not a good point for me. So when I got to 2000,
Before you start talking about it,
yeah,
can I ask you why you want to talk about this in particular? Because there's some clarification.
yeah. I want to clarify because lots of people think that the next Deal Real was involved. It's nothing to do with me. In terms of the name was stolen really in effect. So what happened was,
so tell the story.
Yeah, so what happened was year 2000, the lease came up for renewal. I was just had enough. I'd had enough. I was, I needed to sort myself out. I needed to get away from London really and get myself clean and sorted out. So I thought, well, and then I was approached by a couple of people. We'll buy it off you. We'll buy it lock, stock. We'll take it over and we'll give you. And we came up with a figure and all that. And then, as happens, I couldn't get hold of it. Nothing ever happened. I never got anything. It just all went pear-shaped. Because they were going to open up in the same building and they were going to take, they take the remaining stock and all that. They took the remaining stock. And the next thing I heard, they'd opened up. I'd moved back to Essex by then because my brother had moved back to Essex. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to go follow him. And because I just needed to I needed the sea air and I needed to get myself cleaned up. And, so these guys and what's frustrating for me is they opened up if they'd opened up as a different name, I'd have kind of gone, okay, I got ripped off. But the fact they used Deal Real and they still, because it's kind of frustrating for me because there's that crossover of not clarify. People still think, oh yeah, that was, or they go, oh yeah, I went to Deal Real, and I go, no, that wasn't my Deal Real. I have to call myself the original Deal Real. Do you know what I mean? So there's just kind of left that frustrating thing where I'm always going to be, when I'm talking about Deal Real, I'm kind of all tied to them. And I don't really wish I couldn't. I wish it could be just like one of those things in life, it happens. But I'd like to clarify. Yeah, that I can't even remember the name of the street they were on, but they were in Covent Garden after the year 2000. And that was not me, but that was some of my stock. It had my fucking signed Big L record, and I've seen it in pictures. Yeah, things like that eat me up. I mean, I got Big L to sign me a record, and they got it. But it is what it is.
Did they carry on the performances?
Yeah, they did stuff. Yeah, I think they got Amy Winehouse and people like that in there and all that. And
wow.
Yeah, they did some stuff. Kanye, I think, did some stuff when he was young. But
I have to ask this.
I mean,
right? Do you think they got those people because of the reputation you built?
Well, yeah, all right, yeah. Well, that must be something to do with it, something to, oh, yeah. Why would they use the name Deal Real if they didn't think that it was going to carry some weight? But yeah, so that was just a bad period in my life that, went back, eventually cleaned myself up. I haven't been drinking, I think it's nearly 20 years now,
so
19 years.
So basically, Deal Real, you walked away, someone else took over, that kind of pissed you off. Because...
Yeah, it didn't. Well, we had an agreement and they didn't.
And they didn't,
so
okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm honourable.
Okay.
And that counts a lot for me.
I don't want to talk money. You don't have to mention money. But it must have been a decent offer for you to go, I'm going to sell the shop.
Yeah, it was.
And
I won't
do all
say
of
how
that.
much. But
you don't need to say how much. It's not one business.
It was...
So it was enough to be pissed off about. Yeah. It wasn't like £120.
No. It wasn't. It was a lot more than that.
Right.
And
125?
130. Go on, I'll tell you. So
But then obviously you got to the drinking.
So I was, I needed to look after myself, and that was health is more important than money, right? So, and I just lost myself a little bit, and basically also, it wasn't just that. Records really struggled to get good records and sell records. It was all going digital, and I was like, I don't really know what the future is here, and I kind of lost my heart in it. I lost my heart in music. I didn't listen to it when I went back. I kind of hated music for a while, which was a big thing. I realised. When you make music your business, it's hard. It's easy. You can hate business, and then you end up hating the music. And I did a little bit. I was a little bit. I don't want anything to do with this. So it was a few years before I sort of resurfaced again. I worked and stuff, and I was maintaining, and I
Do you know one thing that we forgot to mention
go on.
is how you and Tony got the shop together, the records.
Oh, didn't we say that?
You didn't say
Didn't
that.
we say that? And this is what I love about Tony, because he was balls out. Because he said to me, we were like, let's open a shop. We didn't have any money. He said, if I put my record collection in, will you put your record collection in? And we had record collections. This is 97. We both had record collections then, serious, And I was a bit like, I thought, and then I thought, you know what? Well, there's no other way of doing it. And if it's that thing about having the comfort of somebody else going, well, if he's going to do it, I'll fucking do it. It's great, yeah. And I went, oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how quickly I made the decision. Probably took me a couple of days. And I probably kept my Marvin Gaye collection and stuff that I'm like, look, I need some of this stuff to keep. But he did too. But yeah, that's what we did, and we got we raised some money in the bank with that. That was our collateral. But I don't think I've ever told you this one. The night before we opened, we decided to have a party in the shop. This was a bad idea. First off, everybody got absolutely hammered. We were all in the basement playing music and blah, blah, blah. Somebody opened up the toilet door and went, the place is on fire. And somebody had left a candle on the plastic toilet, which had caught fire. So we're in the middle of Soho, chucking water into this toilet. I mean, literally all the system was all melted. It got that far that if somebody hadn't opened that door, 5 minutes later, maybe, we could have lost a lot. I sometimes haven't thought about that story for a long time because it used to give me cold chills. When you think, I can't believe we came that close to. But we woke up in the shop the next morning and we was like trying to get records out, people turning up, because everybody had heard we were putting our records in. The word had got around, and everybody knew. Fucking phenomenal, every Ultra's 12, every this, every that, and all this breaks and mad stuff that Tony had. So, yeah, it was. I'll never forget that though. I'm so glad because I've got most of those records that I want back and more.
But that's dedication for you though.
It was either do that or not.
We won't have a business, yeah.
And I wanted to do the record shop with Tony. And I kind of like, well, I don't know what else to do. There was always a slight air of desperation with me, this is how I make a living.
So how much of this decision making to do the records and everything was under the influence of alcohol?
People didn't see it as much as and it was part of it. It was all part of it. But it was more to do with, I needed a break and I needed to clear myself up. And I didn't, if I could see if it was really booming, I think it would have helped. But because it was sliding, and that wasn't just because of the drinking, I think just like lots of when I closed, loads of record shops within a few years, bongos even. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just about drinking. It was, it was just about the business.
It's mad because there was 15 record stores in one area, exactly. And then they're all gone.
And that was really sad. So I mean, I was probably one of the first to go, but then Uptown went, and lots of record shops went because just wasn't the records in the business. It was all downloading, and if people were, I mean, I remember going on LimeWire when I first heard about this LimeWire and all this. I'm very late with all that technology, and started going, oh, this really old rare hip hop tune. It'd come up, and I'd be like, oh. I can listen to all this stuff free. And even I was like, this is mad. And I was like,
destroyed everything though.
Yeah, absolutely. Horrible.
Destroyed it all.
I mean, luckily, I think what's really nice now is the emergence of record shops again, and there's vinyl shops opening up, and there's lots of, Zaf, Love Vinyl, and Eldica, and all these.
I mean, how crucial was record stores?
I think absolutely crucial. I mean, absolutely and utterly crucial. Absolutely. They're much, much more than buying records and distribution. It's my favourite art. So of all the arts, music is my passion and my love. And I've, from a very, early age, from 15, 16, whenever I started really buying records and going into record shops, it's massive. I've known people from years ago, from 30, 40 years ago, that I would go into their shop. I still go in there, and know these people. Most of my friends I've met through record shops. Spent so much time in record shops. Most of those people, so many people came through Deal Real and networks and met each other and then ended up working together. They would have been all done their thing anyway. I don't take any credit for stuff. But going in there, if you imagine you're a really up-and-coming rapper and you meet Black Twang or you meet Thing and they talk to you and they give you inspiration, your confidence is going to grow.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and that's a wonderful thing. Wonderful. Because I always looked at the shop as more than just a record shop. It was a hub. It was a thing. And I fell in love with hip-hop probably later than a lot of other people.
In the record store, you were doing what, like, podcasters and channels and all that are doing now?
I suppose I was. Yeah, I didn't really think about it.
Yeah,
I was, but I kind of was. Yeah, I saw it as a space. Well, it didn't make sense to me not to use it for other things. When you said about doing a freestyle thing, I thought, well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, big up Excalibur for that.
There's nowhere else to go to do it. No clubs. And when they were young, these kids were too young to get into clubs. And there wasn't really, it's much easier for a 17-year-old to go into a little space and there's 20, 30 people in there and it's not so intimidating. And they all got to know each other. So, I think it was important to use the space for more, really. I always felt it was important because it was an art that I loved seeing, and I couldn't rap, I can't produce, but I used to see these guys and I was in awe of 17-year-old kids rapping. I was like, that fucking guy's brilliant. I loved it.
So going back to the drinking now. Talk us through that.
Well, so I took myself back to Essex. I kind of maintained, there was some bad times and good times, And then I gave up. I managed to stop in, I think, 2000. Most people always remember these things. When I stopped, I wanted to forget it, just move on. So I kind of even forgot the date. But I think it was 2008. I think it was the last, 2006 or 2008, I had the last drink. I'm done, And again, I was, 20 a day, Marlboro Lights and all that, because that's what you do when you drink. Did that within a few months of the drink. And... it kind of got my shit together, like in terms of my brain and my head. I'm still a messed up fucker like everybody else, but and got myself clean and sober, and so started to sort of DJ a little bit around town in Southend, little bits and pieces tried out. And one thing Sarah always did to me, she'd be like every year, Pete, this year we're going to have a Deal Real reunion. We're going to have a Deal Real, and I'm like, Sarah, we're not going to have a Deal Real. Nobody's interested. I'm like. And I was, my confidence was at an all-time low with that sort of thing. And I thought, I don't want to go and nobody turned up. I'm fucking embarrassed myself. And I thought, why would anybody be interested in the Deal Real reunion? And all she said to me, Peter, people are always asking about Deal Real and asking about you. And then one year, so 2012, I think it was, she said to me, right, Pete, the worst thing that can happen, I will remember this conversation because it changed my life again, really. She said, the worst thing that can happen, we can get 30 people together, can't we? And I went, well, yeah, we can get 30 people together. Okay, so if we get 30 people in a bar and we all play music and we all get together, that would be a lovely evening, wouldn't it? I went, oh, okay, we'll do it. So then that spiralled, got Bunny Bread, big shout out to Bunny Bread. Oh, and I meant to say Bunny Bread, I'd sold his Airheads t-shirts from way back to Handspun Records as well, so he was... we were doing stuff like that as well. So big up to Bunny Bread and to Jason Airheads. So I got Bunny Bread was very involved in the Mau Mau Club, Mau Mau Bar in Portobello Road. So I think I probably contacted Bunny. I said, and anyway, so we got a team of us. So there was me, Sarah Love, DJ Cuckoo, who lots of history with, and Bunny, 4 DJs, Deal Real reunion party. I think Harry Love was on the bill to play, but I'm not sure whether he played that night. Anyway, wasn't expecting anything, and it was just unbelievable. Just everybody turned up. It was wicked. I was blown away. I was like, fuck, this, I can't believe all this. I mean, it was rammed in there. It was not a massive place, but it was just rammed, and everybody showed loads of love. And I just got me. I actually bottled from DJing that night. I was like, nah. Everybody was like, DJ. But so my confidence was still quite low, but. Obviously, that gave me a big boost, but I didn't, because the decks were set up like kind of on a little thing, so it was really like visual, and I just was like, you know what, I'm not quite ready. But wicked night, absolutely brilliant. Everybody that was there will remember what a great night it was. And it was people like Destiny and Ben who used to do the van, just faces and people I hadn't seen for years. So I hadn't seen everybody for like 12 years by then. So it's quite a long time, and it was brilliant. So then we went on to that night. We made Deal Real. We did about 4 a year, I think, for about 3 years, all at the Mau Mau Bar. And they were all great, it was great. And then eventually Mau Mau closed, so we stopped doing that. But that was a really good, that got me back DJing again, and I started playing funk and boogie and stuff at those nights rather than the hip hop. Let the guys all played hip hop and breaks. So that was the Deal Real nights.
So for a little while, you had a bit of a lonely existence.
Yes, very.
And then that happened.
Yeah.
But then you also had a record label that you released a Task Force record on.
Yes, I released a Task Force record. That's going back to just after Deal Real closed. And Rich, if you ever see this, I'm really sorry, mate, because I messed things up with him. There was a guy, Rich, who was a customer of mine, a really great customer, a really lovely guy. And he used to live down this way, I think, somewhere. And we started a label called Rehab Records. It was kind of a joke on the drinking thing, the Rehab Records. And we put out Task Force Life Without Instructions EP. And it was great. Again, we used Daz IQ, we used his studio. But apart from that one, I was just ill-functioning human being, so I didn't take it any further. And Rich, I think I probably really pissed Rich off because he was just a really nice guy who I think, he was a sensible one, and we could have made something of that label. Anyway, wasn't the right time for me.
When me and you were speaking on the phone, you were taking the piss out of yourself for it.
Yeah, I have to.
And I respect that. The fact that you can look back at that and you can basically look at all the mistakes you made based around that,
I have to.
And you've moved on from there.
Yeah.
You're now a completely different person. You don't touch the bottle and all that. We're clear. He doesn't touch the bottle no more.
No. But it was also, I mean, I don't know if without the boozing, it would have happened anyway, and it wouldn't have happened the same. So it's all, I look at it quite philosophically that actually it was kind of meant to be, whatever, it happened and it can't be changed. But what can be changed is when I do stuff now that I learn from that. So I then got into radio. After the Deal Real nights finished, I was, I had the DJ bug again, and I was still doing bits and pieces around Southend, just little bits tried out, nothing really stuck. And then I got offered a spot on a local station called Funky Essex, which was more house and stuff. But I ended up with 2 shows on there, and I took to it like I just fell in love with it. I was really nervous at first. I thought, I don't know whether radio. I just got offered it, and I thought, I don't know whether I'll be able to do this because I'm not sure if I've got the banter. As soon as I got on there, I loved it. I fell in love with it. I was like, I love this. I'm playing music. I'm doing what I love. And then, really weirdly, Street Sounds, the infamous Street Sounds label, opened up a radio station in Leigh-on-Sea, 10-minute drive from my house. And I'm like, this is bizarre. And I got offered Saturday and Sunday breakfast shows, 3 hours each, 6 hours of broadcasting.
So I guess you hadn't heard all the stuff about Morgan.
I was aware, but there's a lot more I learned. But that didn't. It was. I didn't really care about that. I just thought about that. The studio was beautiful. It was all down to a guy called Paul Ellis, actually, a local DJ. He was the one that fronted all the. He was the one that fronted it all, like the money wise and all that. I don't know whether I should talk about it or not, but I think everybody knows that. So he paid for it all. So they built this beautiful studio like this. 10-minute drive from my house, and I get up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday and a Sunday morning. This went on for about 2 years. I did those shows, 2 or 3, I can't remember what it was. And I absolutely fell in love with broadcasting. And Sarah actually really helped me with this because she'd done 1Extra and she'd had lots of broadcasting experience. So I used to say to her, critique, tell me what I'm doing wrong and all this. So she would put lots of things my way. And I was really dedicated to making the shows and the links good and everything. And musically, I could really spread my wings on those shows. And I used to do a hip-hop half hour on the Saturday morning and everybody loved all that. So really learnt a new trade. And I'm now currently on Stomp Radio, which is a much more of a soul station. And I love doing radio, I might, pursue
So what was it like on Street Sounds? Because you left, right?
It was brilliant.
So why did you leave?
How much can I say? I didn't really like the way it was managed by certain people. So I think I just felt like it was heading towards... Because it had a... it wasn't DAB, was it? It was just online. But they were talking about doing it DAB and all this, and then that all fell through, and things seemed to be crumbling a little bit, which it did. You know, it's now fully just online. The studio's all gone and everything. So I kind of saw it all coming. You'd see behind the scenes. I wasn't happy with the way lots of little things were happening, and I thought, get out. I just, you know, when I don't know about you, but when stuff's going wrong, I felt wrong.
But that's why you got a gut. So when that instinct kicks in,
that's the word. It's the gut. Yeah, and my gut was telling me time to go. So I went to Stomp. I had a friend who worked on Stomp. I had a few friends who worked on Stomp, and I just went and said, I'm thinking of leaving Street Sounds. Yeah, we'll get you on Stomp. So I thought, good time to move. But Street Sounds, oh my God, you know, I absolutely learned how to present a radio show on Street Sounds. I loved it. And it was great, you know, I was on my own in there. You'd go into the studio, really beautiful setup and everything, proper, you know, and I'd get there and did it all myself, but it just was and I'm very critical, so I would listen back to my shows and I would, you sounded shit then, and I would correct it and make sure that, you know, I hope I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I think I got pretty good at it and been, you know.
Whereas guys like me, we'd be like, oh, you know, when we're writing our rhymes, we'd be like, oh, you sounded shit there. Let's make the rest of the record shit.
Yeah, shit. Then I'll make the whole album shit. It's quicker. But you're the same. I'm sure you're a perfectionist.
Yeah. Come on, we all are. That's the creatives.
The good ones. You know, I said, well, the people that care. I mean, to me, it was presenting the art that I love. I take it very seriously, DJing, and it's presenting it. I wouldn't do it if I was if I didn't feel like I was doing it right. Nothing worse than, you know, not doing something that you love. I've taken it very seriously. Sure, he said a couple of really interesting things on his interview with you, and I can't actually remember what they were, but they really struck home with me. And I thought I'd never really had these conversations with Shorty about DJing and about, you know, people and serious, and because there's, oh my God, there's so many DJs now.
95% of them are not DJs.
Absolutely.
You know, like pushing a button and not having any DJ skills.
Yeah, no.
And I'm not talking turntablism. I'm just like, anyway, that's
there's so many different types of DJing. Like Tony Vegas was the master of technology, turntablism.
Well, look, simple things. Even if you watch Shorty Blitz now, right? He's always, even when he's lining things up, he's preparing, he's doing whatever, and it's all going like that. Nowadays, you just see a guy kind of going, push a button and stands at the back and goes.
Shorty's amazing. I think Shorty's like top tier in this country. But party. He's amazing party.
Is it us getting old and not understanding?
No, it's not. No.
You don't think that?
No.
Sometimes I wonder. Because, you know, I try and look at everything from different perspectives. I look at some
DJs and they're brilliant. Young DJs are brilliant. But there's so many... Because of everybody can go on and be online and be on either YouTube or even worse, like, you know, Instagram and Facebook and be showing off what you think of their skills. There's some amazing young kids and some girls.
I've seen.
Have you seen them young girls?
The Japanese girls.
Yeah, there's two sisters, I think, that do it, and they swap around, and so there's amazing. But there's loads of people who just pressing buttons and twiddling knobs, and
I think
it's just so
when buttons get pushed, if they're done in a certain way, it's cool. Like you know what I mean. But when people are just literally playing one record and then pushing a button to start another one,
and they've got it all pre-recorded, and they're all just like.
Yeah,
all this nonsense.
All that. I mean,
but usually they're all ravey type DJs, which are not in my.
Yeah, but there's people doing hip hop and grime and all that stuff as well, doing the same thing.
Much attention. It's a bit annoying because there are so many, and the thing with radio now, which is kind of frustrating, is that it's very hard to get big listeners because there's just so much stuff you can hear anywhere, which is, you know, sign of the times. When I was 17, 18, and I used to listen to Robbie Vincent. Doing his soul show on a Saturday morning, half the country listened to it.
That's mad. And now like 15 people. Literally.
It really is. You know, when you're standing in a studio doing stuff, sometimes I'm like, is anybody listening to this? I don't know, you know, because you don't get necessarily much feedback. And it's really hard. But I love radio. I love doing radio.
You know, when you were going through your lonely existence, would it be fair to say that Sarah was pretty much an angel for you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. She is an angel for me.
Yeah.
Very important person in my life.
Would you say probably the most important person in your life from music that you met through music?
Not much more than music. You know, she's kind of.
No, but I'm saying you met through music.
For instance, I was at her table at Christmas Day last year. I was at Christmas dinner. You know, I DJ at her. She has a summer party every year. It's kind of family and very close friends, garden party type thing, and jazz band, and she sings and everybody. And I DJ there with Tony Monson every year. So yeah, she's a majorly important person, and she knows that. I hope she knows that. I think I've told her enough times. We've been talking about doing a night. So Pete Real, Sarah Love. So we've been talking about doing this a night together called Real Love. Pete Real, Sarah Love. So that's going to happen this year. We're actually just fiddling around with venues, finding the right venue. But we have been talking about doing this for years, really. We've came up with the name and the concept. And it's just going to be about us playing together, DJing with each other. I love the way she DJs. She loves the way I DJ. It's just two friends getting together and doing it. And we'll obviously have other guests, but that's not important. It's about us doing our thing. So Real Love, watch out. That's going to happen. We're going to make that happen. She kind of said to me, it was really funny as well, because I've been doing this night called Doing Our Own Thing with a guy called Dave Smith, friend of mine, Dave Smith.
Which is in Southend?
In Southend. Started that 3 years ago, and that was my vision of a soul night, and I really knew what I wanted to do. And it grew and grew and grew. It's really grown, and we've got now, funnily enough, you're talking about distributors, a guy called Simon Baker. Back in the 90s, he used to work for Mo's Music, and he supplied me with tons and tons of stuff. Come 4 years ago or something, he moved down to Rayleigh, right near me, and we've become friends again and seeing each other. He's a great DJ. He's a soul man, proper deep, So he's now come on board. And then another guy, Gary Turner, who's a legendary old school DJ of soul and funk and all that. So we had the four of us been doing it. Things are a little bit in the air at the moment, so we're not quite sure what we're doing. But so doing our own thing was that. But funnily enough, the end of last year, Sarah phoned me just as I was thinking, I'm not sure of the future of doing our own thing. I'm not sure what we're going to do next year. It was almost like the next day she rang me and said, let's do Real Love. I've got a venue. You know how things just happen, and it's almost like this
serendipity, whatever that is again.
Need to get that right.
One day I'll get the pronunciation right.
Make no next album called Serendipity.
I'm not doing an album called that.
So it's just weird. When she phoned me, I just went, you know what? That's so weird. You've rung me today because that's perfect timing. So let's really make this happen. So let's fingers crossed that really does come together, because that's going to be a great thing, I think, for this year for us to just be fun. Musically, it's going to be wicked, because we always do. But
excellent.
Yeah.
So guys, you need to look out for that. So what's it called again? Real Love.
Real Love.
Right, so look out for Real Love when that comes.
Yeah.
Obviously, check out Pete Bond's Instagram page.
Yes,
because
DJ
it is
_Bond on Instagram.
Right,
and I've also got a Handspun deal reel, so just type that in.
Yeah, I was gonna come to that before we finish as well. Yeah. So obviously, look out for those details on Sarah Love's page and on Pete's page as well. But Handspun, earlier you mentioned that you were going to say something about Handspun.
Well, the Anthony Cooper that had Handspun, Have a Nice Day, the shop in Notting Hill Gate, he contacted me a couple of years ago, and he said, Pete, I want to relaunch, and he's a t-shirt man, he's a garment man, that's his whole thing. He said, I want to relaunch he's got various Have a Nice Day labels and different ones, Born to Kick Ass.
Going to show people that in the camera.
That's the deal reel. This what I was kind of doing, but the Handspun, I don't think I've got a Handspun t-shirt on underneath, have I? No, it's deal reel. Anthony, big shout to Anthony and Shashila, who both ran Have a Nice Day. He's now living down in Whitstable half the year, and then half the year he's in France. Yeah, lucky bastard. Well, a couple of things. His little property in Whitstable lends itself. It's got a little shop front to it. So this last year I've done 2 pop-up shops, like Handspun deal reel pop-up shops, records, merchandise, and all that. It's been great. I'm going to do some more this year. And also, but he's relaunched the logos, so the Handspun. So that's all available through his Have a Nice Day. So you go Have a Nice Day London store, I think it is .com.
So is he just dealing with Handspun and you're dealing with?
No, he's doing deal reel as well. But I do deal reel myself. I can do what it's all very open. Yeah. It's like, if I want to print some up and sell them myself and all that, it's all good. Okay. But he does slip mats. He does some lovely Handspun slip mats, actually. They're worth, if anybody wants to.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. It's a shame I didn't bring that logo, because that is a great logo. That was, So yeah, big shout out to Anthony. So Anthony, he was a big part of the little journey, and it was so nice to hear from him because we went separate ways, and as you do in life. So the fact that he contacted me and we're now friends again, and I go and stay down there and all that is really nice. So those sort of things, being part of the journey and still being back in touch with people is so nice to me, and that's kind of. There's a respect and a love there that,
Just the fact that people want to revive it should tell you what it meant.
I know, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm also, I'm thinking, well, I kind of half blew it the first time, as you know, as you keep reminding me. And,
Bro, it's only because you reminded me so many times on the calls.
But what I'm doing now, doing everything again. So when I'm doing this, right, let's take it seriously, let's try and push it, let's do this. And the old social medias, as much as I think I kind of got a love-hate with social media because it's full of bile and hate and stuff, especially at the moment. But there's also, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for social media, would I? I'm talking to you.
You mentioned earlier the records are coming back into fashion and whatever.
Yeah, record shops are, yeah.
Right. So are you tempted to get back into that?
Yeah. I may well do it. It's nearly happened once. Well, not nearly happened. I was in talks with somebody that don't know what happened there. It's always in my mind. Yeah. And this is why doing the little pop-up shop, selling records again. I mean, when I did the first one, it was summer. It was summer of last year, so it was a hot day. I opened up the door, so I set it all up, and then within half an hour of people coming in and me talking to customers about records, I'm like, I've fallen in love. This is me. I just felt so at ease with talking to strangers about music, and I made loads of nice, semi sort of friends that I'll see again when I go down to Whitstable. And so yeah, you never know. I've always got my. But one thing which I said to you, and I need someone alongside me to do it.
Sarah.
That is, I don't think she's got the time really. She's got a daughter and her life's in London. It's be down in Essex if I did it. I wouldn't do it in London. I don't think I could. I don't know. I don't think I could just fucking afford London really. And this is, but I think about it and I plan it. And if the opportunity, if I just meeting the right person, I wouldn't do it on my own. I haven't got the kind of, I don't know what it is. I just think I need somebody to be the slightly business side of it.
Your passion is somewhere else. It's not running the business.
I know. I can be in there every day talking to people and doing records and all that. Somebody, I need somebody to push me, doing the books and just silly things like that I was never that good at. And just being a bit more business minded and keeping me, Pete, in a nice way, not in a like, I can do this and you do that. But just, I know what I need. When you do a business plan and you have to put your strengths and weaknesses, I know what my weaknesses are and I know what I need.
And you got the advantage of you're not drinking anymore.
Oh, exactly.
So that's not going to get
this is what I'm doing. So, it's funny you asking that. I'm thinking, if I do it again, I'm doing it very cautiously. When back then I would be like, yeah, let's open a shop tomorrow and not plan it. So now it's all very cautious. If I do it, it might be 10 years' time. It might be a little retirement thing, sit in a record shop, drink tea and serve people. Lovely. But yeah, it's never far from my mind. And if an opportunity arises...
I met you over 30 years ago. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I still see that passion. Yeah, I still feel it. It's all there.
It's never going to go. Really.
It's never going to go, is it?
Not that music. I love it. More so. I mean, it's kind of almost more at the moment because I'm doing, the radio stuff. And on this online, because you can't replace record shops. There's no replacement. But for an old man like me who spent half my life in record shops anyway, I feel like I've done all that. So when I'm lying in bed at 11 o'clock at night, buying records, I do it. I buy online and all that. So that's kept my passion going. It's almost kind of reinvigorated this online shopping because there was a time when I was buying loads online. I don't so much now, but because I'm a massive jazz fan and it's like not just hip hop.
Well, we come from a time when we were fans of anything that was good.
Doesn't matter what genre it was. Anything that's good. Anything that's good.
Could be pop music.
I bought. It was good. I went in the record shop the other day and bought a couple of jazz albums, a very expensive Boogie 12, and it's whatever, the Boogie album, and but passion is definitely there. I can't. That will always be there. I think. Yeah.
Do you have any final words?
Do you know what? Thank you to everybody that showed me love from the Deal Real days, and still, especially Sarah. I've got to say, Sarah is very, very, important to me. But to everybody that came in and was part of Deal Real, because Deal Real was as much about, I couldn't have survived without all those customers and all them lovely people that I met and all the people that have sort of, especially with social media, that's the nice thing. I mean, some of the messages I've had over the years, just been amazing, really. And yeah, I'm very proud to have been a little bit of, just put my little bit of into the hip hop history in this country.
And you've done that.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you.
Yeah. And that's kind of weird. And it's weird. I don't know if I realised at the time how much, but more, when you look back on it and you go, fucking hell, that actually was quite important. That little window that I did wasn't very long. But
let me go one deeper than what you just said there. You had all the artists that came through and they performed there. But look at the confidence that a lot of those artists, like I said earlier, gained from that to be able to go and create careers. And that all potentially, I'm not going to say did start from there, but that all potentially started from there.
I mean, I never take credit for anybody, anything or anybody, whoever, however involved in Deal Rule they were.
Well,
I believe everybody would have done it anyway.
Right.
But there was a whole bunch of people that, did
and the connections.
Get a lot of connections and tie-ups and all that. I mean, Estelle, who is big, who went on to be #1, her connections came at Deal Real. She met Talib Kweli, I think, was one of the big connections she made there. But she would have done it anyway. No, I'm not, I don't take any responsibility. But I feel very proud. It's a very nice feeling to sort of go, I was part of that.
You're not saying it. But you're not saying it. What I'm seeing is other people saying it, which is why I'm saying what they're saying. Yeah. Other people are saying it.
That's it. And that's what I mean. It's other people that have made me realise that it was important to them. You see little comments on, say, Instagram. Somebody says, I was really like a scared little kid and I used to come in and everybody made me feel welcome. They've had lots of those little comments over the years and I'm like, that's so nice. Because I didn't know that. I didn't know somebody was in there was, I've made them feel that way. And I met a few people who said, you always gave us loads of time. And somebody said, I gave them loads of advice about putting records out and all that. I have no memory of any of this. But that's so nice. I don't know. I'm proud of that. Okay, nice. Thank you. That's really nice to know that I helped, whatever. Especially in music, because that's my passion. If I had been in the 50s and I'd helped John Coltrane put an album out, do you know what I mean? That's a similar thing. It's like, that's what kind of is really nice to be part of that. And it's nice, and I have to say to you, thank you, because you've had me on here, and like you said in the intro, it can always be about the artists and everybody knows about it, but there's lots of other people. And like I mentioned Simon Baker, who worked for Moe's, nobody knows Simon, nobody saw him, and he'd be phoning me, do you want any of these records? He was importing all these records from the States. So there's these people in the background, Tony Monson, whose band used to come round and pull up outside the shop and all this. These people are really important, and not people that were in the thing knew these people, but a lot of people don't. These people that were in who somebody had to get the records from the States in the first place. So there's a chain of people that are all really important that need to be included in the story. It's important. So that's I appreciate you having me on here.
And it's been my honour as well. So thanks a lot for coming down.
Thank you. Respect.
Guys, you heard it right here. Pete Bond, aka Pete Real. This guy set up something in the early days that basically created a little bit of a hub for all the artists to go to do something. But obviously the priority was to sell the records and supply records. And that's what he was doing. Just other things appeared and he made it work. And not only for himself, but for everyone else that wanted to be part of that little scene there. And a lot of those artists went on to do something big in their lives. Like whether it was underground or not, it was still making big moves. I mean, look at someone like My Stiggy, a.k.a. Maestro from back in the days. Look at what Task Force were doing. Look at Skinny Man. All these people, they all were frequent visitors to Deal Real back in the days. And that all started from loads of other record shops, trials and whatever. But anyway, please make sure you go and follow Pete on his social media pages. I'll put the description and everything in the link below. Also, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.
Thank you.